Carters, are you looking for a new pair of shoes that are cute, comfortable, and can be worn every day? Finding your new go-to pair is now easier than ever with Rothy's. Their shoes give you right out of the box comfort, come in amazing styles and colorways, and hey, you can wash them. It's a new age, people!
And the best part is everything Rothy's makes is better for the planet. So there you go. They've repurposed millions of water bottles into their signature thread that goes into every single one of their products. Millions of women wear Rothy's shoes every single day.
And I'm definitely one of them. They're so comfortable. I wear my Rothy's every day. And I'm Asian, and I'm not supposed to wear them in the house. But you can't tell me what to do. It's my house. Did you know that for People's Magazine's first ever style awards, they awarded Best Flat to one of Rothy's styles?
When I tell you these things are comfortable, I mean, I cannot overstate it. All right, so step up your shoes and accessories this spring and get ready to be asked, hey, are those Rothy's? Plus, get $20 off your first purchase at rothys.com/add to cart. That's ROTHYS.com/add to cart.
Also with that fire, boy.
You forgot your bling bling. Wait.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Add to Cart, a show about the things we buy and buy into and what they say about who we are. I'm your kulap, Kuku Vilaisak.
And I am your Sujin Pak. Later in the episode, we have such an amazing guest. I have a crush on this man. Anthony Rotuno. He's going to be on our show. But before we get to him, let's talk a bit about Father's Day.
This Father's Day for me, I am surprised about what's coming up, what's kicking up for me. Normally, because of my fraught relationship or my formerly fraught relationship with my mom, Mother's Day has got stuff connected. It feels heavy. But now I have a peace in that relationship, and I am surprised to kind of feel this heaviness with Father's Day this year, having everything to do with like my bio dad and my stepdad. I don't know. It's bittersweet. Is the word bittersweet? I don't know if the word's bittersweet, but there's stuff's kicking up is what I'm trying to say.
And is this new? Meaning that like in Father's Days past, have you felt this? Or is this kind of a new, feeling and emotion that's coming up this particular year?
This feels pretty new for me. And if you guys have checked out Origin Story, thank you, number one. If you haven't yet, please do. It's available on every platform that you can imagine.
Including Blu-ray.
That's right. Thank you, Suchin.
You're welcome.
And, I meet my birth father, and it's complicated.
Mm-hmm.
And while I love my stepdad, the man that I call my dad, I don't ever call him stepdad, the man who raised me, we too have a complicated relationship in a way. And we love each other. If I'm in Minnesota, I'm going to visit him. But like our relationship, he was never one to really reach out. He's a very somewhat of a loner of a man. Our relationship is like me texting him Happy Father's Day, me texting him Happy Birthday, me texting him Merry Christmas, and then him responding. So it's not unpleasant, but it's not, you know what I mean? Like it's not.
It's not very satisfying or fulfilling in the way that most of your relationships are. But this is, I assume, just how he is in life. It's not particular to you.
No.
Yeah.
No. I honestly don't even take offense to it.
Yeah. Right.
It's always been about my mom for my entire life. That took so much rent in my head. And now it's like, now I'm feeling the things that maybe I wasn't looking at before. Where that leads me to, I don't know, but I also want to shout out, these Mother's Day, these Father's Day, like it can be triggering for a lot of people, right? Whether you have a good relationship with your father, whether he's passed on, sometimes these days can bring up things. And so I just want to share what's going on with me, but also to kind of give a shout out to those who also have complicated relationships.
Yeah. I'm really glad that you brought that up because we talked a little bit about when we met tete-a-tete,
Yes, yes.
eye to eye, face to face last week. I had said how much I loved Casey's book, and I'd never thought about how a Mother's Day could be triggering. You know what I mean? It's just like you only know your own perspective in some ways, whether there's loss to it, either true physical loss or just a loss because that relationship isn't good and isn't, doesn't bring you joy. So I think that that's really important. And I'm glad that you brought that up because, the Hallmark version of all of these holidays, it's a double-edged sword. It's like both celebratory, but there's lots of shame and guilt in it. I feel that all the time, and I have a pretty, by immigrant standards, decent relationship.
Important to note. Yep. Yes.
Pretty decent relationship with my parents, but yeah, it's not always Hallmark cards.
Yeah. But that said, I want to voice that, but we definitely, we're going to get into some tips of Father's Day add to carts. And certainly I know our guest has some great Father's Day add to carts. Before we get into that, you mentioned Casey Wilson's book, The Wreckage of My Presence. Why not get that for your dad as well? It's available.
Yeah.
It's a New York Times bestseller.
Yeah, it's not just our opinion.
That's right. Hilarious essay, memoir book. Get that. But let's get into our official add to carts.
All right, Koo, do you want to start it off?
Yes. So I have a great relationship with my father-in-law, Bert Ackerman. He is an amazing man. He's a veteran. He loves me and I love him. And something I gave him during the pandemic, which I think would be great for other dads, and I view myself as a dad too, is a Lego set. And the specific one is a Volkswagen Beetle.
Ooh.
He does a lot of puzzles, a lot of jigsaw puzzles. It went this way for me. I got sick of jigsaw puzzles and then I started building 3 elaborate Lego sets because Paul Scheer suggested it to me. And as you guys know, Paul Scheer's my guy for everything. And so I was like, I think Bert loves Beetles. My sister-in-law, Bethany, I remember he got her an old Beetle and fixed it up for her. He's a handy guy. And I thought, oh, well, this could be a really fun activity. And he really liked it. He did it with my mother-in-law, Linda. And so I know that this one, if you go on the Lego site, it says it's hard to find. It's so cute. It's blue. It's got a little surfboard on top of it and a cooler. Doing Lego sets are so fun because unlike a jigsaw puzzle, it's like you got instructions and you're just taking it layer by layer. And it's so satisfying.
First of all, let me just say this one is hard to find, but they have other ones, a Ford Mustang, a Fiat, the James Bond Aston Martin.
I did that one. That's really fun.
Of course you did, because you is a classy lady.
That's right.
But, these are for maybe an adult palate, a sophisticated palate. Legos aren't just for kids. I have this memory, when you were talking about Legos, which I love and our family loves, I had this moment, and I'm going to share it with you, of doing my very first Lego ever was with my son, Kai. And I don't know, he must have been maybe 4 years old. He just loves Legos. And I'm not good, as you know, Kulop, with tactile things, directions. I'm not good with north, south, east, west. I just, my brain doesn't work that way. And I share this and I don't know why it's bringing up emotions. Because, when you have a kid and you grow up in a family and with a childhood that isn't very ordinary and that has many points of trauma. And, it's not, I don't have a single memory of my parents ever sitting on the floor playing with me, right? And I don't begrudge that. I think both of our parents, so many immigrant parents, were working 2-3 jobs just to put food on the table. So that part isn't it.
It simply didn't happen.
It just didn't happen. But one of the biggest pain points as a parent for me is playing. I have a really, really, really tough time playing. And it wasn't until I had my children that I realized that I don't enjoy it. I don't like it. These are things that are going through my head. I'm not good at it. And then it leads to very quickly a spiraling of like, I'm a terrible parent. Of course I'm a terrible parent. Why would I think that it would be anything less than a terrible parent? Like, I have no emotional, skills to handle parenting. So it goes very quickly into there. And I remember doing the first Lego set with him, trying to figure this out. And he's 4 and he's jumping around and can't really help. I just remember feeling so just underwater. And it takes me back to that time of like when the first few years of having kids, how just like underwater and dark and just like guilt and shame cycle that I was in all the time. And cut to, today where like doing a Lego set for the family, like you said, is like sitting down. I love doing Lego sets. It's something that Kai and I bond over. I love sitting and doing that with him. And in fact, Lego sets are a lot easier than me doing imaginative play with my kids, which I still have a very difficult time with. And so Legos gives me a focus. And then, like you said, they're so satisfying. So I don't know, it just brought up all that stuff like out of the blue. I don't think I've ever connected those dots. Like that memory just popped into my mind of that first Lego set I did with Kai.
I love that. And thank you for sharing. Because like I listened to Deep Dive with June Diane Raphael and Jessica St. Clair, two very dear friends of mine. June was talking about how she doesn't view herself as a playmate. She's a parent.
Yeah.
And she makes that distinction. I'm saying this because in my opinion, you don't have to be good. I give you props of saying it out loud and just like, I think it's okay to just do what you're good at.
Doing what you're good at and really valuing what you're good at, because I think often what we think we're good at, we just dismiss. Oh, yeah, like, I'm not a great cook. I cook every single day, almost every meal, like you just dismiss all these things that are really great. And to that point, I think that what you're getting at and what I have been learning, especially in this past year, spending so much time with my kids, is what keeps me from connecting with my kids is not my inability to play, but it's my shame and the guilt around that.
I see.
My kids don't give a rat's ass whether I can play teacher, student with their stuffed animals with them. What they care about is the energy that I bring into a room when they're there.
And more so in this time where you've had to, play so many fucking roles because of lockdown.
Yeah.
But that imaginative play, like that's what their friends are for. And thank God we're getting out of what was before. And they can play with their friends and they can be imaginative together.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have to be Robin Williams. Do you know what I mean? Like,
there was only one late great.
Yeah.
And he was kind of great. Yeah.
You don't have to do all the voices. You don't have to like be great at improv and like take on characters.
God.
Like you don't have to do that.
Oh, I'm just going to soothe myself right into the break with that. Thank you for releasing me from the Robin Williams level of play that I cannot measure up to on a daily basis.
Let that go. Let it all go.
All right. We're going to let that go on this quick break, but we'll be back with so much more.
We're back. Sue, what are you adding to cart for Father's Day?
Well, I added a very specific thing last week that I get for my dad, which is hanbooks, which are books that are translated into Korean that him and I can share this love of books together. But today I'm adding a very classic, you cannot go wrong with this Father's Day gift, okay? It's a bathrobe that is being marketed as the perfect bathrobe. In fact, it's stitched into the back of the bathrobe. It says the perfect bathrobe right under the collar when you pop it. It's by a fantastic brand that only sells, guess what? One thing,
Oh, wow.
a bathrobe. And it's called Wakanichi. Okay, it's a made-up name by David Walton. You have to go to the site. And this is a classic terry cloth robe. This is the robe that it speaks of elegance, of style, of a timeless quality, of a gentleman's handshake, if you will. If a bathrobe could say all those things, this is it.
Yes.
It's thick, it's plush, it's white, it has a blue trim, as a classic bathrobe should. The sleeves are 3/4 because David wanted to make sure that when you were whisking a batter for pancakes in the morning or waffles, that the sleeve doesn't get into the batter.
You wanna dredge French toast, not
Yes.
the sleeves.
Not the
of your
sleeves.
bathrobe. Now we need to make some disclosures here, okay? David Walton is married to our boots on the ground / scientist / one of the most beautiful women ever, Mahendra.
Yes, Dr. MD.
Mahendra Delfino.
Yes.
We're on the up and up here. It's an amazing bathrobe. David Walton is a really funny actor. He's been in virtually everything.
Yeah.
He was the lead in the TV series About a Boy. He did a bit with Whitney Cummings in my show Bajillion Dollar Properties. I just wanted to bring up that.
But you didn't know this until I had brought this up, that he even had a bathrobe company, right?
And it's a shame. It's a shame that I didn't know this, and I am going to add to cart for Scott.
Yes. No, this is a bathrobe for the non-fussy person in your life, isn't into fads. Okay, this is a lifetime piece. It's $200 even. And so it's not an inexpensive gift. What this is a gift that says quality, that
Yes.
says appreciation, that says
Yes, all caps.
forever. Okay. So if $200 is too much to pay for forever, I get it. But if it's not,
What a challenge. What
gotta-
a challenge, Suchin. Wow.
so that's what I brought to the table.
Wow.
Oh, wait. And one last thing, and I swear I'll be done with it. It comes in such a beautiful packaging, too. So if you're going to gift this, there's a little envelope with a note. It had all of the presentation and the ceremony. It's a fantastic Father's Day gift, Mother's Day gift, birthday gift. But I thought it was perfect for the season.
Amazing.
Our next guest, I have admired from afar and up close. And when we say expert shopper on this show, this man has made a career out of that. He is an award-winning journalist who, for over 13 years, has built a career as an editor, beloved for his storytelling. He is a champion of diversity and the people, might I add. His current position as the senior editor for The Strategist at New York Magazine, it's a site that obsessively covers the very best of shopping, okay? He is father to Pebbles, a hairless Sphinx cat with an outsized personality. Please welcome to the show, for the very first time, the one and only Tony Rotuno. Yay!
Thank you.
Kisses all around. Tony, first of all, I, as you know, reached out to you as a fangirl. And I reached out to you because I have been a long time fan of The Strategist. And then you and I connected just over email. And it's been a love affair, really, for some time now.
I would say I replied as a fangirl, as somebody
Thank you. I was waiting for that. Yeah.
whose career, I've admired from afar. Back when I was a young lad in Hopewell Junction, New York, watching you deliver the news in such a cool way on MTV, you inspired me to get into this crazy profession we call journalism. So the feelings were mutual, and I can only say that I've grown to love you even more, and I also plan to have an equally torrid love affair with Kulap by the end of this. But, between our shared obsessions with infrared saunas,
Yes.
our all of our shared passions for shopping. And Suchin, you and I are also, we don't really like to talk a lot about what happens in the bedroom, and I appreciate that. I appreciate that quality in you because I'm the same way. My husband would he gets mad about it, to be frank.
Look, both my arms and my legs are open to you, Tony. Regardless if you don't consent.
We need the Cool-Op pillow.
We all need the Cool-Op balance. Otherwise, Tony, you and I, we would what? Be just in Hot Pocket sleeping bags, closed to the world, never feeling things.
No,
you know what I mean?
no.
Just withering in our own feelings, repressed.
Yes, without people like Cool-Op, our beds would be poise pads and, and the pebble stones.
You're right. First of all, stop talking that sweet, sexy talk to me, Tony. That bed sounds like one I could share with you with different comforters, of course. I mean,
Absolutely.
Who shares one comforter with a partner in bed? Anyway.
I do.
That's weird. I don't know how you actually get any sleep that way. So, Tony, there's a few questions and then I want to get right to your list because, guys, okay, you are an expert shopper. You have a team of expert shoppers. The Strategist is the place to go if you want to buy something and you don't know where to start. And it's my very first place. Whenever I have an idea of something I wish and I long for, I go to the Strategist first. I check out what they're recommending. But before we get in, we always like to ask, what kind of shopper are you, Tony?
I've realized over the last year that I'm a really high touch shopper. I met my husband while shopping. I picked him up at a J. Crew. He was a sales associate. I was in there trying to find Oxford shirts, and I walked out with a tie and his number, and we went on a date. And,
Wow.
Yeah, so
You add to cart your husband.
I added my husband to my cart, and I haven't returned him yet.
That, by the way, could be the biggest add to cart we've had to date.
That's amazing.
Okay, so high touch shopper.
High touch. And, I think my items that I might share a little bit later kind of speak to this, but I mean, all of us are creatures of habit when it comes to shopping at some point, but I've always admired people who find things, swear by them, and just never look back. Whether it's my husband or a nice linen shirt, it's like, I think that, and that's what I love about The Strategist, is we get to speak to interesting people, Suchin, like yourself, or, I just finished interviewing 10 of the front-runner mayoral candidates about the products they use every single day. And you just pick up all of these wonderfully specific, time-tested things. And that is how I shop. There are people who like to try a lot of stuff. And, to all the publicists looking for my email right now to pitch me, you can, but I'm not as much a trier as I am. Like, I take a recommendation from someone who's done it and knows it. And that's where I begin.
I love that because the last time we were emailing, I was asking you a question and I forget, your answer was something to the effect of, oh, yeah, no problem. I'm just road testing some cordless vacuum cleaners. I'll get right back to you. And I thought, my God, he has my dream job. This is what I want to do with my time. Do you know what I mean? I want to road test vacuum cleaners. I've just, as a fangirl.
Well, Suchin, you're well on your way.
Yeah.
That's what I say. I was like,
I mean,
so I've made this dream come true. Welcome to my dream.
It's beautiful.
Yes, thank you. But I always just, as a fan of The Strategist, like, what does an average day for an editor look like, or a fun day for you look like when you're either testing products or talking about ideas?
Any product we want to talk about, we're service journalists at heart. And so everything we recommend, we touch on, we even welcome into our homes, it needs to be more than just a gimmick. It needs to be more than just the latest this or that. It really needs to be something that can improve someone's day, significantly, or even just by looking at it, but not something that feels like fluffy or low cal.
Insignificant. Low cal, exactly. All right, let's get into a full cal heavy meal here with Tony's list.
Yes.
All right, Cool-Op. I have talked about my lack of sleep, what it does to my brain, the fogginess.
Yeah, me too. I mean, sleep is truly the most important thing in my life. That's why today we want to talk about Birch mattresses. They are organic, non-toxic mattresses shipped for free straight to you with no contact delivery and free returns.
They are made in America with just 3 materials, okay? Organic latex, New Zealand wool, and American steel springs. So I have not 1 but 2 Birch mattresses because 1 is just not enough.
And I love how the organic cotton it's made of doesn't ever get too overheated. The entire bed is the cool side of the pillow.
The best side of the pillow. So you can check out this bedding at birchliving.com/add to cart. They have a 25-year warranty and you get to try it out for 100 nights risk-free. They will pick it up for you if you don't love it, but we know you will love it.
Birch is giving $200 off all mattresses and 2 free EcoRest pillows at birchliving.com/add to cart. So that's $200 off all mattress orders and 2 free EcoRest pillows. Let's get into what you've added to cart.
Absolutely.
This first item is a J. Crew Baird McNutt Irish linen shirt in sunrise orange.
What? Let me click on the link.
Looking-
Once again, you added your husband to cart at J. Crew, and then now you're adding this linen shirt. Tell us about this. Father's Day is coming up. This is perfect.
It's a fabulous Father's Day gift. I'm wearing it now in, I think the color is ink or indigo. I own 11 of these shirts, and the fabric is just what sets the shirts apart. It's stiff, it washes so well, better each time, and they're just a great staple, an easy staple, a great Father's Day gift. And as with most great things at J. Crew, you can find them on sale.
Okay, so I'm already thinking add to cart for Scott, my husband. Add to
A
cart.
husband gift, yes.
Yes, for Bert, my father-in-law.
Yep.
But you know who else? I'm sending this link directly to Paul F. Tompkins,
Oh, Paul
man
F.
of-
Tompkins.
Irish descent who loves a linen. And also, I need to know if Jason Mantzoukas knows about this in white. Because
Because he loves a white shirt. He looks very good. It offsets his skin tone,
Yes.
his hair. Yeah.
much like Tony, Jason is tried and true, and that's what he does. He's not messing around.
I would stand by it, and if he doesn't like it, he can send it to me.
Okay.
Don't return it.
Not only did I add to cart for my partner, but I also added cart for myself because a men's linen slim shirt just cuffed right, just so at the elbow. Is that the epitome of summer sexy time for Sue? Mm-hmm. It sure is. Buttoned right up to the top,
Oh,
you know? Just a sliver of an Adam's apple to
Tony,
entice.
And look at
Tony,
that.
you're exposing too much right
I
now.
know, I was-
You look like a harlot in Sujin's
A
eyes.
deep V. Look at him.
You
He's
should
just
see the shorts.
too
Thank
relaxed.
God for only half the screen. No, and the nice thing too, the thing that I think people forget about J. Crew is you go in the store, and that's one thing, you'll see them all in slim, but online they have the classic cut. The classic is nice because it gives a wee bit extra room, and it doesn't look schluppy or schlobby or schlubby or whatever that word is.
And you're suggesting the sunset orange. Is this just because you don't have it yet?
Ooh.
Or
The orange was a departure for me. I'm more of a blue, I'm a blue guy, I'm a white guy, classic. But with, my olive toned skin and my last name that I can't pronounce like the old country, I felt like orange was like a color that I should be
Yes.
wearing, and now that I hope to be out of the house a little more this summer, maybe I can get a nice tan with it, so that's why I went out on a limb with the sunset orange.
I see you as you're there. You're having an Aperol spritz.
Yes,
It feels
yes,
like
yes,
Capri.
yes.
Right?
100%.
It is.
It's like wearing an Aperol Spritz, Kulop.
I love a hopeful buy too. You know what I mean? We do a lot of hopeful buys here where you purchase something and you're like, see, that is what I will aspire to be in the very near future. So I love that.
It's all about manifesting the summer you want and, the person you want to be and what you add to your cart.
The next thing that you've added to cart is the Skura style sponge set.
This is for the clean freaks among us.
Hold on.
These sponges are probably the thing I've bought the most after reading about them on The Strategist, and that I buy them every 6 weeks. They're just so fantastic. They're designed in a way that, as clean as I'd like to think I am, I'm the type of person who could let a sponge, linger for a month, maybe 2, as long as it's still yellow. But I think that that's not really hygienic. And so early on in my tenure here, a pal who's a writer pitched these to me, and he was like, they're the most ingenious little things. They're designed with a pattern on the top that wears off with use. So by the time the pattern disappears, you throw it away. And that has proven true. Never a smell, never a funk. I love that it tells me when to do it because it just helps me feel like I'm keeping a cleaner kitchen and not letting whatever muck might build up in the sponge stay there, longer than you'd want any guest to stay in your house.
Yeah, like I don't even want E. coli to visit.
Yeah, no.
So this makes sense.
I do a lot of dishes. We cook a lot, especially over the last year. So the sponges have been something like during the pandemic, they never ran out. It was just one thing that helped me feel in control.
What I do with my sponges, and I'm sure a Reddit thread will prove me wrong on this, I was told once, and I do this every day, is I put it in the microwave for a minute to kill all the bacteria on the sponge that has accrued over the day. And then you sort of, can go longer in between getting rid of sponges. Anyway, thank you for letting me share that part of my life with you guys. It was special.
I've added to cart. It's in my cart right now. I'm getting these sponges.
And you know what? If you don't like them, it comes with 4. Give them to a couple people enjoy doing dishes and don't have a dishwasher, or just enjoy microwaving sponges because they're real. I've never done that, but they seem like a really great product to try in the microwave.
I don't know. It's just something that I picked up and never let go of. Anyway, okay, love it.
And our next thing that you're bringing us is handwritten correspondence.
Oh, I love
wow.
this. Ooh.
And so what I'm seeing is a whole line by Smithson Wove Kings. And let's start with the correspondent cards in cream.
Yeah, so Smithson is one of those brands, I think, at Strategist. We hear all about it when it comes to its planners and its organizers. It makes these really beautiful diaries that are not cheap, but are heirloom pieces that everyone from Debbie Mazar to Tad Friend at the New Yorker tells us you get one for a year, you put it on your bookshelf, and over time you develop this collection of beautiful diaries. Ooh. But low-key sleeper hit among their inventory are the note cards, and they have larger writing paper, which I also put on my list, because a handwritten note, I think, goes a long way. And last year, when we couldn't see people, I was writing up a storm, even just the smallest letters. And the nice thing about the Smithson stuff is I think when you start getting into the area of personalized stationery, it can get expensive, and then you have to replace it, and you start thinking like, well, who gets the one with the monogram on it, and who just gets, the one that I got, left over. And with these, the quality of the paper is just so nice. It's thick. You can sort of see the texture on it, and it's the type of thing that I'd like to imagine whether I'm writing a note to my 6-year-old niece, Gracie, from Pebbles, who is known to sign with a paw now and again, or, to a friend of 20 years, they'll keep. They won't just toss it because you can tell the quality of it. And it's I have a box of cards that I've collected since I was a young adult. And again, this was a habit I formed after working for the former editor-in-chief of Vanity Fair, who archived every piece of correspondence. And it made sense. And so I'd like to think that people are holding these things that I send them to remember the sentiments. And so that's why I like these cards, because they make a great impression, and they're not that expensive for something from Smithson, where the diaries can cost $200.
So when you're using the writing paper, is that when you want to do like a larger letter? Is that how are you using the writing paper in your life?
Yeah, I've used it to write larger letters. I also once wrote, I had to write a best man speech for or maybe it was just a speech. I can't remember if I was the best man. I don't want to pump myself up, but I wrote the speech on the paper and then I gave it to the bride as something that she could have as an artifact, of that moment. So it's everything from that to, we have some folks cat sitting for us this week, and I write a note to them with their little gift that I left. I like to switch it up sometimes. A friend of mine, a former lover, he worked for an editor at Vogue when I was at Vanity Fair, and that editor famously, I remember, would write very not long letters, but, every a couple words or sentences on these longer sheets. And so you'd get a 6-sheet letter and it would be like, how are you? It's so nice to hear it's like an eye chart or something, but there's something really cool about that. So that's why I like to have the variety.
And then you also have the envelopes, which are gorgeous.
Which are classic, and they fit. If you fold the larger sheet, you can get a bunch of them in there, and they fit the note cards like a glove. So it's like a nice mix and match set.
I just love, we talked about this of many episodes. Back about how I had been thinking about getting an old school typewriter because during this time that we've all been apart, you have a little bit more time. Some of us have more than others, which I understand. And then also, you start to miss people in a way that you didn't before because you couldn't see them. And so I had this kind of longing not to do the email, not to do the texting, because that was just sort of easy, but something a little bit more special. And
you bought the typewriter.
And it's still in my cart. Oh. And I'm thinking about it.
You're thinking about it now after we're coming out of lockdown.
Oh, I'm not coming out of lockdown.
Got it.
Yeah. For all of our younger listeners, because we apparently have quite a few younger listeners that love to listen to aunties go on about things, this is a great tip, Tony. For all those folks that only have really just dealt in the digital world, going to this site, Smythson, getting this, when someone receives this from a young person, you're like, you did the work. You talked to someone, you got a recommendation, you got the right one. I see the work in this stationery. That's the kind of stationery this is.
It's exactly how I feel about it. Back in the day, I would run these letters from whatever office I was at to whatever job I was interviewing for and find the messenger room so that I could get them snuck. But it just shows that appreciation and that care. And I do think people appreciate that.
Yeah, plus they're called Smythson Wove Kings. Don't you want to be a Wove King?
I had no doubt that you would bring a level of sophistication and just a genteelness to the show that we sometimes lose along the way between the cackling and the screaming over things that happen in the bedroom. But I really appreciate...
It's more of a screeching on both our parts.
Gasping.
Anthony, where do we find you on the social medias? How can we?
I am at AJ Rotunno, ROTUNNO on Twitter and Instagram. But I would also encourage everyone to, where you really find me is at The Strategist, where I pour my heart and soul into so much. And so me, yes, but also at The Strategist, at Strategist, some combination of those handles, will find it everywhere. And like Suchin said, you won't just find me, you'll find her. You'll find, mayoral candidates. You'll find so many wonderful people. Shopping is such a personal thing. And that's why podcasts like this and work that we do is so important because it helps tell stories that other people might not know and might resonate, even if it's one other person. How great is that? So I just appreciate you guys letting me tell mine. And Kulap, I think we need to get you on The Strategist next.
What?
Because, I mean, don't leave me with the microwave of sponge person.
God, but please don't leave him. I beg of you. No one should be left with that. Really.
Tony, thank you so much. You're amazing.
Thank you so much.
It's a match made in heaven.
That's all we have for this episode. Make sure to follow Anthony for your stationery hot tips.
In fact, send him a note on that stationery, why don't you? Follow us, of course, on @AddToCartPod for all the gifts and products on today's show.
Call us at 833-453-6662 to tell us your favorite man robe.
All right, everyone. We will be here same time, same place next week. Bye. Add to Cart is a production of Lemonada Media. Our producer is Claire Jones, and our editor is Ivan Kurev. The music is by Wasabi and produced by LA Made It, and Oh So Familiar with additional music by APM Music. Executive producers are Kulap Vlysak, Sujin Pak, Jessica Cordova Kramer, and Stephanie Whittles Wax.
Be sure to check out all the items we mentioned today on our Instagram at @AddToCartPod. Also, please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe to this show wherever you get your podcasts.